and thank you for coming to my video. This video is about integers and integer operations. So first off, we'll start with the definition. What is an integer? So an integer is a set of whole numbers that are positive, negative, or 0. And then of course, 0 isn't positive or negative. 0 is kind of like that baseline point. So there are two types of integers. There is a positive integer, and that means that the number is greater than 0. And there is a negative integer, which means that the number is less than 0. So when we do operations with integers, there are rules or formulas that will sort of determine what the outcome is. So there are two sets of formulas. So the first set of formulas involves adding or subtracting integers, also known as combining integers. Okay, so the first rule might seem like the obvious rule, but we're going to mention it anyways. So when you add or subtract a positive number and another positive number, the outcome is going to be a positive number. So for example, 6 plus 3 is going to equal positive 9. Now of course we don't write that positive because the absence of a negative sign, so we just assume that it's positive. And then 6 minus 3 is going to equal positive 3. All right, so that's the first rule. The second rule when combining integers is when you have a negative number and another negative number, the answer is also going to be negative. So for example, if we've got negative 6 minus 3, well, we're going to get negative 9, because if we have 6 negatives and then we're going to add 3 more negatives, well, we count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it's going to be negative 9. Now, the next rule is when we have a positive number and a negative number. So there are two outcomes when you have a positive and a negative number, and it depends on which number is the greatest value in the equation. So let's say the positive number had the greatest value. Well then, if that's the case, the answer is going to be positive. And this is because if I have, let's say, positive 6 plus negative 3. Now, a positive and a negative sign can never be right beside each other in an equation, so we have to separate them with these brackets. Well, the answer is going to be positive 3, because if we have 6 positives and 3 negatives, well then these are going to cross each other out, these are going to cross each other out, and these are going to cross each other out. So we're left with positive 3. Now let's say the negative number this time, it has the greater value. Well, Well, then the answer is going to be instead negative. Because if I have negative 6 plus 3, well, it's going to equal negative 3. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3. Well, these are going to cross each other out, and I'm left with 3 negatives. All right, so those are the 4 rules that we have to remember when combining or adding and subtracting integers. All right, then when we multiply or divide integers. All right, now these rules are slightly different, but again, the first one seems like the obvious one. So when you multiply or divide a positive and another positive, well, the answer is going to be still positive. So if we got 2 times 3, it's going to equal positive 6. Now the next rule is a little bit strange, and you just have to remember sort of the phrase, is that 2 negatives make a positive. So if I have a negative integer and another negative integer, when multiplying and dividing, we're going to get a positive integer. All right, so if I have negative 3 times negative 2, I'm going to get positive 6. All right. And then, whenever I divide or multiply a positive number and a negative number, when adding and subtracting or combining, we had to worry about which one had the greater value. When multiplying or dividing, it doesn't matter. If there's one positive and one negative, the answer is automatically going to be negative. All right, so for example, 6 times negative 2 is going to equal negative 12. So now we are going to do some examples. So sometimes when we have a equation, we can sometimes simplify it, so that way it makes more sense and we can draw pictures. So let's do an example here. An example could be negative 3 plus positive 4. Well, again, this positive right here isn't really necessary, so we can simplify it to be negative 3 plus 4. So we can draw ourselves a diagram again. So 1, 2, 3 negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4 positives. These all cancel each other out, and we're left with 1. All right? Another example that we have could be negative 14 minus negative 19. Now we got to put into effect here something called distributive property. So what distributive property is when we multiply whatever's outside the bracket to everything inside the bracket. So here we got to pretend that there is a negative 1, all right, in front of the brackets. Even though it's only a negative symbol, we got to pretend it's negative 1. And then we got to put into effect the formula that 2 negatives will make a positive. So negative 1 multiply negative 19 will equal negative 14 plus 19. So now that 19 has become a positive. All right? And then the answer to that is 5. Try one more example here with maybe more numbers. So here we got positive 4 plus negative 5 plus positive 12. So again, we can simplify this to 4. Now we're going to multiply whatever is outside the bracket into the bracket. So a positive times a negative is going to be a negative. So it's still 5. And then a positive and a positive. So positive 1 times positive 12 is going to stay 12. Alright. This is going to equal, we can start combining like terms. So 12 plus 4 is going to equal 16 minus 5, which is going to equal to 11. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. Hello, and thank you for coming to my video. This video is about integers and